Hey everyone, it's been a long time since I've had a chance to make a video. It's been so dry here, like just about everywhere else in Canada and the US this year, that I've been spending all the time I can just watering the garden. So that doesn't leave me with much time for weeding or making videos or really doing much else. You know, most of my crafts and everything are on hold. Not real good at this heat. You know, especially the humidity makes it awful hard to breathe. So it's just trying to do what I can early in the morning and late in the evening and on and off in short spurts throughout the day. Our corn patch isn't doing too bad. Now yesterday, if you'd looked at this, it was all yellowed and curly, but I was bailing water on it for about an hour yesterday afternoon. Each row I think got done 2 or 3 times. Our hose, or not our hose, well yeah, the hose doesn't reach back here, but even if it did, our well can't keep up with the water demands right now. So I'm having to bail water by hand with a watering can a little at a time. The water level in the area, the rivers and whatnot, are down about a foot. This is that Stowell's evergreen corn, and the larger plants are just starting to tassel. Just started this week. Now, I'm actually pretty happy with this corn considering what a horrible drought year it is. Not to mention last year was, and then next to no snow over the winter to put any moisture in the ground. But I've only watered this a few times, and it went over a month with next to no water, and it was growing really well, and it only really started showing signs of stress about 2 weeks ago. It just got too much for it at that point, and I started having to keep bailing water on it. Until then, I was trying to focus on the tomatoes and other stuff. But you'll notice that this little side of the garden is quite a bit taller than the rest of it. And the reason for that was, earlier in the spring, I had mulch on this side. When we had mowed the grass around here that was really tall, it had covered the ground as a mulch. It has since kind of dried up and disappeared. But you can see how having a mulch really does make a big difference. And I would have loved to have had all the gardens mulched this year. We had planned to do that deep mulch system with wood chips and whatnot, but we couldn't find any wood chips anywhere. So just couldn't end up doing that. And we weren't able to get any straw either, because it's really expensive right now and not the easiest to find. Unless you want giant square bales, and those are a mess to handle. What I have been doing is emptying my daughter's rabbit cage out here, and eventually that'll cover this whole section anyway. This far garden down at the back, I need to bail water down there too. I've got that zucchini squash planted down there, and it's not doing too bad. It's not growing real good because it needs a lot more water, but it's not being bothered by squash bugs at all, which is great. This garden's a bit of a mess. We were doing that living mulch system this year, and the downside with that is that the cleavers that we had almost eradicated, or thought we had from this garden, have come back, and they're starting to intertwine on everything. But there's potatoes in here, and there's reds, purples, and the all reds, a few of each. And they're doing not too bad, a lot better than the other potato garden. See the taller ones there farther at the back. Then along the front here, I've got some of the cucumbers. They're not doing too bad, and they're starting to flower. Been fighting cucumber bugs like crazy. I put some diatomaceous earth on here, and that actually seems to be helping quite a bit. I was starting to weed out here yesterday, but it was just too darn hot. Yeah, I know. It's hot, isn't it? Yeah. And you like to sleep in the sun all day. You're crazy. Yeah. You're going to follow me around and talk all through the video, right? Yeah. I transplanted these little apple seedlings, I think 2 days ago. I found them outside and I'd completely forgotten that we'd put them there for a while. And the leaves were starting to yellow a bit. But they're actually perking up pretty well. Our kids started these back in the winter, and 4 of them have come up from the Red Delicious apples. And I also have a couple of tomato plants right here. I'm going to be trying to grow those in the house over the winter. And then there's a couple of thyme plants. This garden has mostly squashes in it, and I've been fighting the squash bugs like crazy this year. This first row is lemon squash. Or sorry, the first 2 up here. What are these? Are they all lemon squash? I can't remember now. But I know the ones farther down this row are, and we got our first lemon squash about 2 days ago. Yay! So hopefully they'll keep perking up. I got to get some compost tea on these things. You can see the yellow leaves, even though they're being watered just about every day. Some of them had some squash bugs on them yesterday, and it doesn't take long for the damage to show up. And there's one long row here of ground cherries. They're starting to make little pods. These first 2, I think, are the white scallop squashes, and they're flowering. Ugh, and look at this. Look at the cucumber bugs in there. Rotten things. Be out here squishing bugs later. Yeah, my zoom on the camera was stuck. Sorry. These 3 plants are supposed to be the tondo squashes, the round zucchini. And we picked our first 2 a couple days ago. And then I see this one here coming out, and it looks like it's tiger striped. So I'm waiting to see what that happens with that one. I don't know why. If the seed got mixed up. Look. Squash bug. Get off there. Right. Bye-bye. Oh, you're still alive. There. Good riddance. Kids out here helping me later to kill these nasty bugs. The lemon cucumbers are doing really, really bad. These things are like pathetic. Out of all I've got 4 different types of cucumbers planted, and these are the worst. The bugs go absolutely ape over these cucumbers. And the cucumber beetles were the first ones to hit, and they all started with blight and started dying. And I've been watering and fertilizing and trying to keep them going, but they're not doing that great. So we might get a few, enough to keep some seeds. But I'm not holding my breath on those. Over on this side, I had the Tigger melons, and most of them never came up. There's one doing not too bad there. Again, the white stuff is just the diatomaceous earth. And these are the ones that I had actually started in pots to get a head start, and they're doing worse than the ones I had started by seed, because the cucumber beetles killed them almost right to the ground, but they've come back a bit. And like with what we've been doing with the living mulch, in this garden we didn't plant any clover because we ran out of seed. We were just using the natural weeds or herbs, whatever you really want to call them. But I haven't even had to mow it once yet this year, and you can see how short it is. But I have noticed that there's been a lot more insects in here, lots more spiders and beetles and stuff. So the basic idea of that is working really well. And it does help to shade the soil, because areas where I've weeded, you know, I noticed in the next couple days after that the plants are doing worse. So although these plants compete with water, overall it's been a help to have it. I would have preferred to have like a straw or wood chips, but this is helping somewhat. Anyway, over here we've got some of the watermelons, and they're just starting to vine out. And that little one there, not doing that great, but there might be one or two more down this row. Over here, we've got the butternut squash, which is starting to bush out. And we've got a couple of pie pumpkin plants down here. Potato garden is doing really bad. I've started bailing water onto it by the buckets, and you can see the plants aren't very high. They're maybe, I don't know, a foot high. Normally by this time they're almost up to our waist. And there's a lot of patches where they didn't even come up in the rows because it was so dry. I watered about half of this garden last night before our well ran dry on us. We had to stop. It takes about an hour for the garden to fill back up when the well goes. Sorry, I'm tired. Can you tell the heat's cooking in my head? It takes about an hour for the well to come back up from almost empty if you accidentally let it run out. And because it's a spring. So the only real problem is that, like I said, our water table's about a foot lower than normal in the area. There's people around here with wells over 150 feet deep, and they're going dry too. So there's not a lot you can really do about it. Just as a comparison, this is the golden bantam corn that my kids planted, and you can see the tallest plants, they don't even reach up to my waist. And most of the plants are much smaller than that. So in comparison, and these have gotten more water than my other corn by the barn. So in comparison, the Stowell's evergreen corn is doing so much better. Because this one the kids had actually been looking after. But it can't withstand the heat that we're having. Don't you hate it when you start recording and then you realize your camera's not recording? So I gotta redo this all again. These stoop ice tomatoes. They're a potato leaf variety, and they're highly stressed right now because they need more water. But they have been giving us red tomatoes. I picked a couple handfuls off them yesterday. So I'm really impressed with these. I picked this variety out from Baker's Creek because we were supposed to have a very cold summer. That's what the Farmer's Almanac said. They were very wrong. But anyway, irregardless, they're doing very well. Here's some more down here that are ready to come and pick. They're really small, but they taste good. So I'm happy with that. I think I got 2 rows of those ones here. Or maybe 3. Some of these varieties, I think these were the Suburban Plenty. They're looking pretty bad, but they do have tomatoes on them too. Then there's my old standbys, the Heinz paste tomatoes. They're loaded with tomatoes in here. They're not quite ready to get ripe yet, but I'm watering them. Oh, wait! A couple little ones. That plant's doing well. This is back up to the top of the garden where I was filming before and then realized it didn't record. I weeded out these 3 or 4 rows of beans a couple days ago. And I have been picking a couple handfuls of beans off them, but not enough to can or really do anything with other than just enjoy fresh. I still have 2 rows left to weed. But when I was mentioning earlier with the difference between the living mulch or not, I weeded these because I couldn't see the beans well enough to pick them because they're green, right? And the grass is green. But the plants in here that I have not yet weeded are upright and doing way healthier. They're nice dark green compared to the plants that are out here that are now starting to yellow. And these ones have been watered more than the ones in the weedy row. So the living mulch system really does help. The only downside is it's hard to see when you go to pick. With the tomatoes and whatnot, I use the plastic mulch around them to give that little bit of space, but I couldn't figure out an easy way to do that with beans because you're kind of working with seeds. It's a bit harder. I could have maybe cut 2 strips and put them so far apart and then put the seeds in there, but we were kind of running out of time this year and wanted just to get these in. So how's your garden doing? Are you able to keep it alive? Is anyone harvesting much already? Take care, everyone. Try to keep cool.